Good afternoon, parents and students, and our boarding school partner representatives. My name is Anne-Marie Abebe, and I work at Nubi Education. I'm the student placement manager, and today I'm going to be moderating this online information session. We conceived the idea of conducting this session because of the current global crisis. We know that parents and students have a number of pressing concerns and questions that they would like to be addressed with regards to how boarding schools in the UK are adapting to changes imposed by COVID-19, and what processes they have in place to ensure that students' learning, goes interrupted, and students are happy and safe in school in the autumn term. So this session, we're going to have presentations by our 4 boarding school panelists, and we're also going to have a panel discussion where parents and students will have the opportunity to ask any questions that they would like to be addressed. So, without further ado, I am going to introduce the Nubi Education Executive Director, Mrs. Rose Omonubi. I'm so sorry. We would need somebody to please mute themselves. We can hear a little bit of background noise. Okay. Thank you so much. So if I could just introduce Mrs. Omonubi, the Executive Director for Nubi Education.
And introduce your panel.
Okay. Okay, so for our panelists, we're having Gareth Collier, the Principal of Cardiff Sixth Form College. We also have Giles Williams from Brooke House College. We have Jacqueline Fisher from Limehouse School. And we have Mr. Tom Lawrence from Concorde College, and each panelist will deliver a presentation. But before the presentations, we'll have the Nubi Executive Director.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Hello. I'm excited to be here. I hope you are. Amari, thank you for the introduction. I'll be very brief. Overview of Nubi for some people who don't know about Nubi, but I know that many of you know about Nubi, so I'm not going to spend time because we have many questions from parents. I'm Rose Omonubi. I'm the Executive Director of Nubi Education, and Nubi Education is one of the leaders in the industry, one of the leaders in education placements, and we are the leader when it comes to placements in boarding schools. Boarding school is part of our service that the boarding school functions. The fair we do is boarding school. We started with the boarding school fair. In Nubi Education. We are the first in Nigeria to start the boarding school fair, and I am happy here to say that this idea was from Giles Williams, who is here today, because before 2005, the only fair we had in Nigeria was the British Council Fair, targeting just the universities. So sometimes the boarding schools are the fair and they are just not recognized. Everybody's, the universities are with the targets. And so Giles called me and said, could you start a fair that can target primary and secondary schools and give us the forum to be able to interface with Nigerian parents, the pupils, and the local schools. I said, well, this is a good idea, but the boarding schools, I know they don't like to leave their comfort zone. How is it going to work? And that was in 2005. We didn't start it until 2008, and it's been a very successful fair, but not without the support of our esteemed partners, parents, and the local schools. So this year we had boarding schools scheduled for March, but was cancelled because of the pandemic. And then we have, from the pandemic, we have so many uncertainties. People are worried, parents are worried, pupils are worried. Are they going to school in September? Some of them have paid their fees, some of them have gotten offers. In fact, somebody was to start at Brooke House College, that's an example. Now it's online. It was to start in April, it's now online. So you can see this confusion around. They were asking us questions we couldn't answer. So we said, okay, the best thing is to have a forum of all the stakeholders so that they can ask their questions and you can answer them, their questions. And I hope that at the end of this, we will all be able to know where we're going. We get, everybody will be, we'll understand where we're going. We know where the schools are, what they are doing in response to this pandemic. So I hand over to Amari to continue.
Thank you very much, Ma. So we're going to commence with the presentation. We have another one of our partner boarding schools on the call. We have Mr. Andy Towles of Redham House, Berkshire. Hello, Andy. Andy would also be one of the panelists, and he would also deliver a presentation. So we're going to start off with Tom Lawrence from Concorde College.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to show you a few slides. I think I have about 5 minutes, so I will be as fast as I possibly can, as fast as this allows me to be. So just moving through this. Students, parents in Nigeria have a wide variety of institutions to choose from. They can choose from traditional British schools like Brighton College or Bromsgrove, who I know market in Nigeria, and they are mainly British in content. I don't know if you can see my slides there because on my screen it's covered by pictures, but on the right-hand side there you have tutorial colleges, and by that I would include, if I may, Cardiff Sixth Form College, Oxford International College, who these schools tend to be located in city centres and have a relatively small, if no, campus. And their students are mainly international. Concorde College sits in between those two types of school because we are an international boarding school with a full campus, which I will show you some pictures of in just a moment. And our student body is mainly international. We have 15% from the UK, and they are our second largest nationality. I mentioned our campus. That's a picture of our campus. As you can see, it's a very rural location in Shropshire, about 45 minutes away from Birmingham. It's a very beautiful place, and in particular too, it's a very safe place. It has a lot of history connected with the campus. Our main building is over 200 years old, and we have two buildings here which are date from the 13th century. The one on the left there is actually the site, purportedly, of the first ever parliament in the UK. But I'd like to draw your attention particularly to another building there, which is very new, and it's got 22 state-of-the-art science laboratories in it. And everyone who comes to the UK is just absolutely wowed by these facilities because we take the provision of science particularly seriously at Concorde College. It's a massive building and the labs are just state-of-the-art. Just to whirl you through some of our other facilities, we have 2 sports halls, we have a swimming pool, we have art rooms, we have a very well-equipped library, we have a theatre for music and drama, we have a dedicated student centre as well, where students can also cook, and we have very beautiful boarding houses there as well, and full facilities too for sport. I'm whisking through these very quickly, but they are all on the campus, very safe location. Our A-level and GCSE grades, we take students from ages 13 up through to the end of A-level at the age of 19. And you can see we have very high success rates with those students. Our students are quite conservative in the universities they want to apply for, and they, not us, often refer to the big 5 universities, and by that they mean Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial, LSE and UCL. If they don't get into Oxford or Cambridge, I think some of my colleagues here will share the same view, that the students are fixated by going to university in London. And down the left-hand side, I've put the years for the last 5 completed years and the number of students at the college in those years. And there you can see the success rate for Oxford and Cambridge. It's 20 plus in each year. You can see the success rate for Imperial College, LSE follows, and UCL, again, can you see the UCL column?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. So you've got your pictures in front of those. And that adds up over to the last 5 years. Oxbridge is 111 students. Imperial College, which is a particular favourite for our Nigerians, 187, 114 for LSE, which, by the way, is a much smaller institution than the others. And finally, UCL, a massive 377 offers. And I'm showing you offers because that shows the range of choices which are available to our students. So very high levels of university entry. We also have great success with medicine. I can send these slides to you, but they are successful applicants in the UK and around the world. Our university program involves trips to Oxford and Cambridge. We have annual visits from Imperial, UCL, LSE and King's. We have dedicated staff to coordinate each subject for university. We have lots of practice exams for training the students to do that. We also we use our old students to sign up, and we pay them to provide online support to our current students who are applying in that subject in their university. And that's been a very successful program for the last 3 years. And we also have dedicated summer preparation courses for law, for economics, for engineering, and for medicine, which students can join each July and August. So we have a very comprehensive program to get our students ready for university. My time is running out, but we regard Concorde College as a life-changing place, and it's a magical place, and a place where dreams come true. That's my 5 minutes. I will leave you now.
Thank you very much, Tom, for your presentation. So we're going to move on to Gareth Collier from Cardiff Sixth Form College.
Anne-Marie, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on today and speaking to you at Newby Education. As Rose mentioned, we've been working with you for many years and really enjoy a very good relationship. And I'm eternally grateful for Giles for his eminently sensible suggestion to do a boarding schools workshop in Nigeria, and delighted to be riding on the back of your good ideas, sir. Thank you very much. I'm not going to talk to you very much about Cardiff Sixth Form College today. I think that I probably talk too much about Cardiff Sixth Form College. I agree and concur with my colleague Tom from Concorde in his opening discourse, where he placed us to the right of his graph. And I actually am very grateful to him for giving me an opportunity to just shoehorn in a little promo for myself, for the college here, in that we just last year, Tom, transferred from being a college in all but name, and we topped the league tables for GCSE subjects as well last year in Wales, as we transition our way into a full school in the next 2 or 3 years. So I am enormously envious of your facilities, sir, and hopefully one day we shall aspire to those as well. However, what I want to do today is talk a little bit about education in general in the United Kingdom. It's an unsettling time going through COVID-19, and I wanted to try to give some reassurance to families in Nigeria that actually coming to the United Kingdom at the moment is actually a good decision as opposed to a bad decision. If we think back, I think the oldest school in the United Kingdom that's still going at the moment is a 6th century school. I think it's King's Canterbury was the first school out there. I'm going to get shot down by people who've probably got an older school than that, but I think it was King's Canterbury, and I stand to be corrected. And that's in the 6th century. And actually, if you look at the independent schools that you've got available to you as parents to choose in the United Kingdom, there are many and various and have a huge range of offerings and are all incredibly prestigious and have been around a very long time. They have been through a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulties. A lot of times we've had world wars, we have had other pandemics, we've had plagues, we've had all sorts of things thrown at us in the United Kingdom. And yet the British independent school system continues to soldier on unabated. It is a tradition, if you like, that has moved on and is still strong and still champions the best of what it is to be British. And I think as parents in Nigeria, you can draw solace from that. I'm going to actually misquote, no, but I'm going to quote correctly, but perhaps out of context, a famous Nigerian, Chinua Achebe, a famous author, one whom my daughter was frustratingly studying Arrow of God for her A-levels. But Chinua Achebe said, when a tradition gathers enough strength to go on for centuries, you don't just turn it off in one day. So the tradition of education in private schools, independent schools in the United Kingdom has been going on for centuries. And COVID-19 will not just turn off this tradition in one day. We have years and years of practice behind us, some more than others, at delivering excellence, and we shall continue to do so. One of the key things that you're going to hear from people today is how they adapt to COVID-19 and what you can expect from these schools for your children when they arrive in September. And I say when they arrive in September, not if, because actually most schools here are going to be delivering some form of education in September, if not beforehand, be it online or blended or fully face-to-face education. Now, these schools will all have taken great time and great trouble to make sure that the environment in which your children are placed is the best place for them. If you think a little bit about the real existence of schools, what is our main raison d'etre? What do we do for education in the United Kingdom? Well, we're there to provide a safe learning environment for students. And that will continue without COVID-19 or with it. We're there to educate students and to give them brighter futures and to allow them to realize their dreams, as Thomas just said. And we do that in a very safety conscious and healthy environment. The people that come into teaching are really people that come into teaching to make huge amounts of money. They're not business entrepreneurs usually. They're people that care deeply about the learning and teaching provided to young people and wanting to have them to have brighter futures. You couldn't wish for a better group of people to be looking after your sons and daughters in a time of crisis such as COVID-19. We have a whole safeguarding charter which governs what we do in schools. It is one of the most conservative documents that means you have to stick to the rules very, very closely in order to provide a very safe environment. And throughout this COVID-19 pandemic, these safeguarding charters are being checked and looked at and policies changed and updated to ensure that we can give you the best possible environment in which to learn when you arrive with us. One of the dictates that's come out from the DFE, the Department for Education in the United Kingdom recently, which will also give you a lot of hope for the future, is that one of the things they've said is a boarding house in a boarding school can act as a single household. What a wonderful thing to say. That means that all students living in a particular boarding house don't have to worry particularly about social distancing within the house, as long as everybody in there sticks to the same rules. Now, what a great thing to do. And actually what that means is that you're probably, given the controls and the discipline systems within schools, you're probably, if sending your son or daughter to the United Kingdom to a boarding school this September, sending them to the safest possible place there is to be. And I include that of being at home as well with you and your families. There are restricted access to outsiders. The staff there live in a bubble with them, and actually they are probably in the safest place to be. So congratulations and well done on making that decision, and I can reassure you that every school here will be able to look after children in a very safe and responsible manner. You're going to hear a lot of change over time. What I'm going to say today on individual items such as social distancing, let's take, for example, the World Health Organization says 1 meter is fine. The UK government says 2 meters is fine. New Zealand government says 1.5 meters is fine. There's a lot of difference of opinion out there. You're going to see a lot of things change between now and September. It's a dynamic situation as opinions differ, new science arrives, and new structures have to be put in place. Don't worry about this. The constant reminder, the constant image you have to bear in your mind is that these schools have been around for a very long time, and they absolutely have the health, well-being and education of your children at their heart. They will look after you with no expense spared and deliver them at the other end with a fantastic education fit for life. So whether you hear it's 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters, whether you hear it's masks on, masks off, whether you hear it's single bathrooms, not single bathrooms, whether you hear it's wash your hands for 20 minutes, 3 hours or 4 days, please don't panic. Yeah, whatever happens, the good will be distilled from this, and the people really in charge of your children face to face, be they teachers or boarding staff, will absolutely make sure that they are in the best possible place. I'm not going to bang on about this forever because there's lots and lots of things that we can say, and we've all got our own particular ways of handling these. I'm just going to add one little point because I promised Rose that I would, and that's about dealing with the health and well-being of young people. I'm going to say something a little bit controversial to start with, and then I'm going to be less controversial towards the end. We surveyed our students in Cardiff Sixth Form College about the problems of online learning and how they felt about it. We were very keen to make sure that that we were doing the right thing. And we've been in, as most schools have, on a type of remote or online learning since the 20th of March. And one of the questions in there was, how do you feel you have been affected by online fatigue? And we got an overwhelming response from our student body, which basically said, what's online fatigue? We had prejudged that they were suffering with this. And we were then educated by our own students who said, look, Mr. Collier, we've grown up with screens. These are what we have. Yeah, they are one of our rights. They're not something that that's new to us. We have them all of the time, and we've learned to moderate and balance our own screen time and be able to cope with that. And then I turned to my own daughter, who's actually downstairs doing her lessons at the moment, and I see her. She finishes her Microsoft Teams sessions where she's doing her work on biology, etc. And what does she do when she comes off the computer? She goes on her phone. And she connects with her friends. She does a TikTok video. She watches YouTube. She does a Kahoot quiz. She has fun. These students are much better at controlling their own screen time and understanding what it is that they can and can't do than ever we are. Online fatigue is absolutely a real thing. And it's a very real thing mostly for our staff, who perhaps are less used to the screen time that our young people are. And so we do, as managers, have to take account of our ability of staff to deliver excellence in these times. In terms of mental health and well-being, being able to make sure that students, even if we are in a time of online education, have some real live lessons going on. Many of our students that we're talking about here in our schools are uber competitive. They are students who want to do the best, who want to be the best they can be. And many of our students are calmed and reassured by seeing and hearing other students in the same class. Many of my students are so competitive that if they can't see where they are in the pecking order in the classroom, they will panic and they will work harder and do more at a time when perhaps working harder and doing more is not the message that they need to hear. So ensuring we have a mix of online education, which is live and recorded, group, individual and reflective, is important mix for our students' mental health and well-being. They need to see each other. They need to see each other working in order to be able to calm themselves and reassure themselves that they are not missing out and they are doing the right thing. But there are no hard and fast rules, and we will all interpret this in our own way and in our own context for our own educational institutions. Rose, I'm sorry I go on far too long here, I'm happy to chat forever. Any questions from parents that want to come back and talk about what Cardiff Sixth Form College is doing in terms of academic education, in terms of specific responses to COVID-19 and what we'll be doing in September, please do put them in the chat, type them up for Anne-Marie to send through to us and ask at the end, and I'm very happy to answer those. But I'm going to leave you with two final thoughts. The first is Cardiff Sixth Form College will be open in September for all of our students. Whether we're running online education, blended education, or face-to-face education, we will be open. And the second thing I'm going to say, if we have parents out there that are yet to make a decision about education in the United Kingdom, number one, please make the decision. It's a fantastic one. We've been around a long time and we're good at it. And the second thing I'm going to say on this is there is no such thing as a bad school. You have some fantastic schools in front of you today, and there are many other fantastic schools out there in the mix. But there is such thing as a bad choice. Knowing your son and daughter, getting under the skin of a school and knowing how they fit together is far, far more important than listening to me or listening to sales staff about their individual institutions. Find the fit. Make sure it's right for you now and for your child's future aspirations, and you can't go wrong. Thank you very much. Apologise for taking too long. Anne-Marie, I pass back. Baton is being passed. I'm going to pass it that way, if that's all right.
Thank you, Gareth. Okay, so we're moving on to Jackie Fisher from Limehouse School.
Hello, can I just share this with you?
Yes, you can.
I did it before, didn't I?
It's coming up. Okay.
Wow, what a desktop.
Oh, can you just see my desktop? Now can you see?
Yes,
Yep.
we can see.
Okay. You can see the...
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm actually from Limehouse School, Dalston in Cumbria, and I am Director of Boarding. We are currently back in school. We started back yesterday. We have our Year 6 students, all 4 of them, in school yesterday on a morning basis. So they're coming in daily and they're in from 9 till 12, which is a little bit different to normal circumstances. So we are, again, a small school situated in the north. We only have 180 students. So things are very different here to most of these big schools out there, which tend to be further south than what we are. Situated on the fringe of the Lake District, we offer education starting at age 7 through to 18. We focus on A-level, on GCSE, and we are mostly boarding international students. So as a boarding school, and as we offer our students a nice, safe environment, Limehouse School places the students' social, physical and mental well-being at the heart of everything we do. The emotional development and social skills, community values and knowledge learned in the classroom and beyond in all daily interactions help our students to set positive patterns for their future health and well-being, equipping them for success in school and beyond. This is something that we will start in September, because obviously things are changing and we need to develop a different way of accommodating our students. The learning experience for all our students have been scrupulously assessed in accordance with all government advice and guidance of our professional associations. Now, as you can see at the moment, we are promoting that 2 meters, keep your distance, but I do think this may change. And here on the screen, we are a very small campus situated in the middle of the countryside. So our nearest city centre is 8 miles away, and there is no public transport to and from the school. So everything that we do, we transport our students ourselves. Again, a small school, we will adapt a one-way system, so therefore the pupils' movement around the school will be controlled. This will be different for our students because in the past they are able to go wherever they want and how they want, but as I say, we will have a one-way system. We will also allow students to wear masks, and I actually did take an order of masks this morning that arrived, which has been a long time coming. Hygiene stations have been established throughout the school, and deep cleaning takes place on a regular basis, in addition to the scrupulous observation of cleanliness by our domestic staff on a daily basis. This is something that we would do normally anyways, but there is more staff being employed to make sure that everywhere is done regularly throughout the course of the school day. All our boarding houses have actually undergone a deep clean, and again will be ready for students to come in September. We have reduced the number of students in a dormitory, so therefore they have more space, and this again will help us create a better place for living and a better place for the students to make sure that they are doing what they should be doing. As I said before, all our students will use school transport. There will be no outside transport used. We will collect each student from the train station, or specifically when they come back from the airport. We will also allow our students to return to school earlier in August to enable them to isolate for a 14-day period. We will also follow the government testing guidelines on testing. All students will have their temperature taken. We're actually, as we speak, having a camera fitted so that when students walk through the front door, there is a camera that will take their temperature, and I'm sure this will help us to just make sure that everything is safe and that we can keep a check on all our students at a regular time. All our staff have been trained in being COVID safe. We've followed the BSA guidelines, and we have done everything that we possibly can to make sure that we keep our students safe at all times. As a small school, I think that we have a different opportunity to other schools because we know all our students. It's good for us to keep in touch with families, to keep everybody aware of what is going on in school. We did finish early. We finished around the 23rd of March, and we have covered online education throughout the period of time since school finished. Anyone that is looking for any information regarding the school, by all means you can contact us. We are working in the school on a skeleton staff, and like Cardiff College, we will be here in September. I'm not sure how many students will be here, especially international students, but we have 60-day students who are all local, and they are all eager to get back to school. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Jackie. So we're going to move on to Giles Williams from Brooke House College.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to see not only you, Rose, and your staff, but also some colleagues who I haven't unfortunately been able to catch up with for some time, partly due to the COVID epidemic and also partly due to just being busy. So it's lovely to see you guys. And it's lovely to be talking, albeit virtually, to Lagosians and people in Nigeria. There's no need to thank me, Rose, for the suggestion of doing the fair. I think your treatment of me when I was hospitalised with food poisoning after a slightly suspect prawn kebab at the Apapa Boat Club in the early 2000s. I think you more than paid me back for any idea that I had. I visited Nigeria for the first time in 1999, and it's interesting to have this discussion. And we're talking about online learning and the demands of online learning and the successes and failures of online learning. When I first went to Nigeria, there was no internet access whatsoever, and people like Rose used to kindly send me through applications by fax, as long as there was enough oil in the generator. And obviously the terrific development of Nigeria in recent times has enabled the development of the wireless networks, which allow now for luckily for us to supplement and complement tuition online. And the college has enjoyed a proud relationship with Nigeria over the last 45, 50 years since its establishment, really, in 1967. We've educated the children of statesmen like Atiku Abubakar, Bubemi Saraki. We've educated the children of several prominent Nigerian businessmen, including Arishikola Alao, and also more recently a number of Nigerian sportsmen and their children have been lucky enough to join the college's football program. So the college has a long tradition in Nigeria, and it's one which we're very proud of. And it was actually brought home to me because I received a lovely phone call about 2 weeks ago from a boy called Nuhu Alao, who is one of Arishikola Alao. I think he had about 60 to 65 children. I'm not exactly sure. But it was never confirmed to me, actually, that although I did have numerous meetings with him. He educated 5 of his children at Brooke House, so obviously I had crossed paths with him reasonably regularly. And one of his children, I think it's about 38th in line, he studied at Brooke House. He went on to study medicine at university, and he called me just out of the blue 2 weeks ago to check that I was all right. And I said to him, I said, "Well, how are you, Nuhu? Are you okay?" And this young Nigerian boy who'd come to Brooke House 15 years ago was now fighting at a hospital in central London, was fighting the COVID epidemic. You know, he was on the front line as a hospital consultant. And I think it just showed what a remarkable story international education is, what a remarkable story fluidity of travel is between various countries, and how children can benefit from educating themselves in the UK, from direct involvement with their parents in the UK, that this young man who was born in Ibadan into a huge family was able, but because of his father's hard work, to come to the UK to study, and to progress through medical school, and was now helping Britain in fighting the virus. You know, and by contrast, his older brother, an older brother who also called me to check he was all right, is now a male model, so possibly doing a bit less to help with the COVID fight, I suppose. But it just shows the diversity that one can achieve through an education in the UK. Like my colleagues, obviously, our school's given a lot of thought to how we will to respond to COVID and the demands that COVID's placed upon education in the UK. I've got a series of slides which I don't want to go through now because they will repeat what some of the other people have said. But I forwarded them to Rose this morning. So if any parents are listening and interested and fancy going through what's a pretty terse but thorough and compliant 5-page of presentation, then please feel free to do so. I think that one of the key lessons that we've taken out of what's been a pretty difficult 3 or 4 months, and I speak as somebody whose 6-year-old child has resumed school last week. My older child went back to prep school last Monday, and so I guess I was in the same situation as some of the parents will be today, because I was umming and ahhing about, you know, is it going to be good to go back? Is it going to be safe to go back? And ultimately, I sat down with my older son, who's called Bruce, and I said, "What do you think, Bruce?" And he said, "Well, the online stuff has been good. The homeschool teacher's pretty rubbish." That was me, but he said, but he said, "I want to go back to school. I miss my mates. I miss my teacher." And I just thought, well, that's wonderful. It's so good that my son feels that he wants to go back to school. And I think that the students who are at my colleagues' institutions, at my institutions, I think they'll want to go back to school as well. It's a perfectly natural thing for them to want to do and afford themselves the fantastic opportunities and facilities. We saw the wonderful facilities at Concorde, which were demonstrated earlier. Why would you not want to go and avail yourself of those fantastic opportunities, the academic opportunities at some of my colleagues' schools? So my son went back to school, and he has loved every day ever since. It's been managed absolutely with great diligence and with great respect for the authority and with great sympathy by the teachers involved. So my message to any parents would be, you'll probably go through the same process that I went through, and I hope you come to the same conclusion as me, because I hope your child can find the same happiness in returning to school that my child did. Just a final point, because I know there'll be questions. I don't want to go on forever, but the two things which I think we've taken out of the last couple of months will be, I think online learning is fantastic. It's amazing. The internet's brilliant. My wife can order a pair of shoes today and they're here tomorrow, and I don't have to go out and buy them. It's great, But I think what we have seen in the last 2 or 3 months is that we're not really ready for online learning in its entirety, and the classroom, the school environment is absolutely vital. Yes, blended learning where necessary, and maybe in 10 years' time or 20 years' time, there'll be a greater component of online learning in everything that we do. But right now, I'm not sure. Most of the students who I've spoken to on the phone have said, "I miss school. I miss my mates. I miss school." And I'm so proud of the way that the principal and the staff at Brooke House have dealt with an incredibly difficult challenge. And I'm sure that other colleagues from other schools will say the same thing, that the response of the teachers and the management and the staff has been fantastic in terms of in providing this online platform, which, let's face it, none of us thought we were ever going to have to do. So I think we're all delighted with how our staff have responded. It's been tremendous, and high standards are being maintained. But whether we're quite ready for this transition to an online world is one thing. And the other thing is, I'm a sports guy. I love my sports. You can't play football online, well, you can, but I think for those of us who play football, it's probably not the best way of playing. And my school is a keen advocate of as much sports as possible, and the chances of transmission of viruses are obviously lower in the open air, as has been demonstrated by the government. So when we look at getting children back to school, getting children back to sports, getting children back to healthy existence and coexistence, then certainly that should be our target. I'm sure that's my time up. Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you, Rose, for the platform to speak to everybody. And we look forward to any questions.
Thank you so much, Giles. So we're moving on to our last panelist, and that's Andrew Towles from Redham House, Berkshire.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you to Newby Education, Rose, Anne-Marie, for letting me join this call. It'd be much appreciated. And like a number of our colleagues have already said, we're very much looking forward to September. I know, having sat on numerous calls with other boarding schools over the last couple of months, nobody's quite sure where we're going to get to, but as we tell the children all the time, we need to learn, we need to move things forwards, and we need to make sure that they're safe, well, and ready to get back into an environment where they can learn and get ready for their futures. I do have a few slides just to share with you. I won't spend too much time. Hopefully they're informative, but pretty generalised at the same time, I hope. But again, along with many schools in the UK, we're very lucky to have a wonderful campus. And I think, being and coming back to a school is a very safe environment. We're in the countryside, we've got lots of space to live in, but it also will help us create and keep our pupils safe in that environment all of the time. Having spoken to our students all over the world over the last couple of months, I know they're very keen to get back into normality and get back to school as soon as they possibly can. And again, the Boarding Schools Association's planning very much to get our schools ready to be COVID safe environments, and whether that includes staff training. Again, here we've had some World Health Organization courses that we've taken part in, just to make sure, again, we're learning and understanding the provisions that need to be in place and the best way we can look after our students, but also right through to making sure that the classrooms and the environment's ready for the students to come back to. Again, we've started to refurb some of our boarding houses just to create some extra spaces within them, so the pupils can have, rather than being 2 or 3 in a room, we can create some more singles and double rooms for them. So again, it allows them to have that social distancing built in. And I know a number of schools are in the same kind of boat, and we're all trying to build towards that safe environment for them. Other things, obviously, apart from just creating those, we are part, and again, I know we all share good practice across the sector, but we're part of a much bigger schools network at Readham. We have 64 schools around the world. And again, we've been very fortunate where we've got schools in Italy and Spain who went into a lockdown situation, have come out of the other side of the lockdown situation well ahead of the UK. And we've been able to share good practice and learn from their experiences. And I think, we often talk to the students about learning and learning from mistakes, etc. So we've been very lucky and fortunate that we've been able to do that. And that links in closely with the virtual learning that's been in place, I know, across a number of schools. But again, having students who are computer literate, and as Gareth said earlier, students perhaps don't get the fatigue that adults do. And I think we have a really blended curriculum anyway at Readham, and our students use Office 365 and the cloud, the way they use their work, and move across from the boarding house to home to school readily. So actually for them, the transition to, we went from, we closed on a Friday and opened on a Monday to a completely live timetable. All of the teachers continue to teach their lessons as if they're at school. Everyone uses Microsoft Teams and they submit their assignments. We've got 4 of our year groups currently in exams this week, where they'll be observed whilst they're doing their exam work online. And again, submit those at the end of things. So we've tried to keep things as normal as possible. And I think from our point of view, trying to keep consistency with students in difficult and worrying times for them is important. I think the normality of coming back to school in September is very much something we're all focusing on, and we want to get in place as soon as we possibly can. Planning for September is obviously slightly challenging, but I know lots of schools are planning for a kind of hybrid environment. Again, if we aren't able to relocate and get all of the students back to school, ensuring that they've got that continuity of curriculum and they're learning online alongside their kind of colleagues who will come back to school, is so important for them. And again, we've been very fortunate, again, sharing that practice with our Italian and Spanish schools of their versions of the virtual curriculum. We're able to put those in place quite quickly. But again, for parents, it's very difficult if you're looking forwards to find a new school for your son or daughter in these environments. It's much more difficult, perhaps. And I know, again, a number of our colleagues will be offering virtual tours, and hopefully, they'll allow parents to try and, as Gareth said, find the school that's the best makeup and match for your son or daughter, because it's so important. And again, just one thing for parents perhaps looking forwards is whether, if you are looking to enroll your son or daughter, whether they could potentially start in a virtual environment earlier, just so they can start to get to know their friends and colleagues and peers in their year groups or in their boarding houses, and start to make contact with them. Will be very important to help their transition across and help them settle into a new environment if they're looking to come across to the UK. Which I know something that we've started getting our year 11s who have finished courses across the world to start to integrate into some of our year 12 lessons with their year 11 colleagues from the UK, which has been very successful. But I think overall, we perhaps don't know where we'll be in September quite yet. And if we look back 12 weeks to where we were beforehand, it's probably a completely different world. But I know all of the boarding schools are very much looking forward to getting back to some form of normality. and very much looking forward to welcoming new students from all over the world back to a safe and COVID safe environment. So thank you very much for opportunity to talk to you all. And again, as everyone else has said, if you'd like to learn more about Redham House, please search us on Google, and I'd be delighted to host you for a virtual tour if you'd like to have a look around.
Thank you so much, Andy. So we're going to go back to Tom Lawrence from Concorde College. Hello, Tom.
Yep, okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to talk a little bit more specifically about measures that we are taking, and I'm guessing many of my colleagues here are taking as well. It's quite hard, isn't it, to look forward to what will the situation be like in September, and I think all of us are having to be very adaptable. We're having to think on our feet. One measure we've taken, and I'm sure our colleagues have as well, is we've already booked tests for COVID-19, which students will have 3 days after their arrival, and the results will be back within 48 hours, because we're very conscious that we've got students coming from all over the world in flights and then arriving in the UK through Heathrow. And so we want to do everything we can to reassure parents that they're not going to possibly be bringing in the infection and infecting each other. We're also been very well helped out by some of our parents in China who've donated thousands upon thousands, great big boxes of face masks. We've also had 10 temperature checkers delivered as well. So we're going to put temperature checks on everyone who comes through the gates, and including all employees in the morning. We're only going to allow single bedrooms from September as well. Another thing we thought, again, we've talked about September, but who knows what the situation will be at Christmas, and whether travel will be completely open and free in December. So we have decided already that we will stay open in the Christmas holiday, so that our students don't have the inconvenience of possibly traveling back home and having to isolate, and then coming back again and having to isolate. So we're making it possible for them to stay in the college. I have the unfortunate task of writing our timetable at Concorde as well, so having to do a phased timetable to allow phased break times and meal times. And that's another consideration that we've been taking. And we've also taken the step, and we hope that they will be completely unused, but we've ordered a dozen pods, where if we did have to isolate students, we could put them safely in those pods where they could be apart from all of the other students. So I'm sure all of my colleagues have got variations on those, but I just wanted to say that as an illustration of the amount of thought, planning and preparation and flexibility which our schools are showing to reassure parents that everything is going to be okay. We too will be open in September. I heard this morning that just over 60% of our parents, have already paid their fees. So they're very optimistic about us opening then as well. So let me reassure all of our Nigerian families listening that, we are ready for business, and we're looking forward to welcoming you to the UK. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. So I would like to say thank you to all our panelists for your in-depth and informative presentations. It's pretty clear that you have rigorous processes in place to ensure, that academic teaching goes uninterrupted, and you have provision in place, to ensure the safety, welfare, and well-being of students come September 2020. So we're now going to move on to our panel discussion, and we would like to open the floor to our parents and students, should they have any questions that they would like the panelists to address. So do we have any questions? Okay, I'll just start off. I mean, as organizers of this event, you know, we've also received some private questions come in prior to this session, and you know, that was really the motivating factor as to why we decided to organize this event. Due to the uncertainties posed by the pandemic, you know, we just really wanted to promote UK education and, you know, reassure parents that their children will be safe in the boarding house in September 2020. However, you know, we've heard a lot about virtual learning or blended learning. So that's blended, a mix of online and face-to-face classes. But we have had some parents ask whether their children can expect to have the same quality of teaching, the same experience, you know, the same support, you know, should they have to commence the start of their programs online come September. So they're just a bit conscious that it's not really going to be the same. So if we could just have one of the panelists, you know, provide some feedback on that.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. I'll start off. I'm sure others will want to kick in at the end of this. I think that the easy answer to this is to say, will it be the same experience in September as online or blended education? Absolutely not. There's not a chance that it will be the same experience. Will it be the same quality? Absolutely. No matter what each of the schools here today are going to end up delivering, whether it's fully online, blended, or face-to-face, there's not a school here that's not going to deliver quality. You know, for years we've been delivering the highest quality of education to students, and whilst I fully concur with Giles when he says that trying to replace face-to-face education completely with online in the long term will have disastrous and deleterious effects on young people. Actually, in the short term, and we are in the short term, the online has been fantastic. You know, we've learned things whilst we've been online that we're actually going to carry forward. And I'm kicking myself for not doing these previously. I think Aristotle said that necessity is the mother of invention, and I think it's been necessary to reinvent ourselves. So in reality, when people come back to Cardiff College in September for either blended or online learning, I think that the quality of that will be extremely high. And if we can compare what's happened since the 20th of March when we went into this remote online learning, our students have learned more. They've learned more quickly. They've learned apparently in a more focused way. And we've conducted a full set of assessments, and our students have achieved the highest set of grades that we've possibly had at this time of the year for any students in our history. So has what we've been doing worked? I would venture yes. Has it been quality? I would say yes. Has it been the same experience? Absolutely not. And so as long as we bear that in mind and we accept that schools are endeavouring to provide the highest quality in changed and strenuous circumstances, then I think that actually the future is safe and secure for everybody.
Thank you so much for that, Gareth. Sorry, please go on. Yes.
Just another thing, developing that line of rigour which Gareth has started there is one thing we did at our college was we wanted to reproduce the challenge and rigour of our students who had their GCSE and A-level exams cancelled, and rather than just letting the term peter out with a variety of online activities, we wrote all of our own exams, and we paid a company to put them online and invigilate or proctor them online. And we are using those results partly in the assessment of the grades that we're putting forward. So that required a great deal of invention and hard work from our staff. But as some of my other colleagues, I think it was Giles mentioned, the the dedication shown by our teachers to keep this thing going and reproduce challenge and rigor throughout this crisis, I think shows you the professionalism that we have in all of our schools. And if it does have to be online for a little time in September, I think you can expect the same rigor and the same determination to provide quality. But actually, I think most of us in reality are anticipating live students in front of us in September. That is what we are all planning for, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gareth and Tom. Another question that has just come in is with regards to the visa application process, for international students. So we know that students are usually able to apply for their visas 3 months before the start of their courses. So really it's meant to be June, that the schools start issuing the CAS letters, etc. So, I mean, I know nothing can really be done as of now until, we receive further directives from the British government with regards to reopening of, the embassies, etc. But I just wanted, we have parents who just want to know what the situation is.
Would you like me to speak on that, Anne-Marie?
Yes, please go ahead, Giles.
So a significant number of the UK visa issuance centres around the world have opened already. So whilst most schools have probably been issuing CAS over the last week, I imagine, some of the centres haven't been open. It's my understanding that they're not yet open throughout large parts of Africa. So I think that pending an announcement being made, I think that it is part of a process, and certain areas have been opened. So I think that the schools are going to. I mean, what we've done is issued the draft CAS, which is part of what we always do. Await the feedback from the parents and the agents who may be mediating the application as well, and then await their confirmation that everything's okay. Then issue the CAS, and then the logic to how they've decided to open the visa centres, the government, it's lost on me, to be honest. But I'm sure there is a process, and hopefully that it won't be too long before the visa centres are open. And remember that that there's going to be quite the powers that be, I'm sure, will see the need to expedite students who are applying for the first time to study in the UK. I mean, common sense would dictate that. So I think that it is working according to a schedule. I think the schools are continuing to do what they do, and I think in the next couple of weeks it'll become pretty clear, in plenty of time for people to apply for September entry. And obviously, when you're dealing with a lot of schools, there's quite a lot of returning students anyway who've already got visas. So I hope that should be. I don't think that there'll be a huge obstacle in the way on immigration ground.
Thank you so much for that, Giles. So I'll just pass on to the Nubia Education Executive Director, Mrs. Omonobi, in case she has any words to give.
Yeah, I guess all the questions that parents have been asking have been answered from the presentations we have today. I must say that it's highly informative. I think I'm very, very much equipped to now, reassure parents that UK is a safe place for them to go now. But there are some questions that I got from my phone now. I think this question keep going around because people are also worried, because if they have to resume school before they write how would you access them without the IGCSE results or the WAEC results, because now they don't even know when they are writing the WAEC, when they are writing the IGCSE. So they want to know what you have in place for them as alternative entry requirements.
Would you like me to answer that one, Rose?
Yes, please.
Well, I know that that everyone will have their own. Some of the schools in the forum are very selective, so they may well have their own alternatives to that, whether that's internal testing or whether that's using organisations like Password and which are operating at the minute. So I suspect there's probably going to be a sort of a slightly different sort of response from the different panelists. So I can, from our point of view, we would look at previous school reports and things like that to try and ascertain a student's eligibility. But in the process, and for those of us who deal with older students, you've got the issue with the IELTS centres being closed, which is relevant for foundation students as well. So there are alternatives to IELTS, although I understand that the IELTS centres are in the process of reopening. So from our point of view, we'd be looking at IELTS as and when it's available, plus alternative English language assessments for the foundation students, combined with sort of school reports and references from headmasters for the younger children. Although I appreciate that some of my colleagues might have slightly different strategies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Giles.
If that's okay. Very similar along those kind of lines. Again, we'd base a lot around school reports, as we perhaps would do with some of the younger students that we'd come in. We're also conducting interviews with the heads of school via video call as well. So I think, we have our own testing mechanisms that we're available to do online. So, for us, we've been very lucky with our virtual teaching, and we've actually recruited 5 Nigerian students over the last couple of months to come across to Readham. So, we've been assessing them as we've been going along. We haven't followed perhaps the normal pattern that we would have, but again, if we're recruiting students coming into year 12 prior to GCSE results, we would offer them before we know the results anyway, based on their school reports and interviews and their testing. So I don't think it's shifted the goalpost a huge amount. I think a lot of schools, as I said earlier, we learn to adapt. And again, it's just about making sure that the school's the right one and that the students are able to cope academically with the courses that they want to go on and do. But that's able to be, or we're able to do that in a number of different ways. So I don't think parents should worry too much about that. The schools are very much in a position where we want to assist parents and families to be able to make the right choices and go to the schools that are going to suit them and they want to come to in the UK.
But if you admit them without the IGCSE or the WAEC results, don't you think it will affect their progression to the university, because they will still need the IGCSE results or the...
Rose, it's my understanding the IGCSE results will be granted in any centre through CIE or Edexcel Pearson in the same way they would be in the United Kingdom. So students will be given a centre-assessed grade by their school and a rank order, which will be therefore useful for them to go to university. I don't think that's too much of a problem. WIAC, that has never been really a very big consideration for British universities, and they've had to filter through some other system anyway to be able to get there. I'd like to focus on a slightly different important point, which is linked to yours, if you like. I think Giles and Andrew there have both magnificently mentioned that schools are adaptive when it comes to admissions processes and ensuring that the right student fits the right school. What I would say is that the absence of examination systems in IGCSE and WIAC aren't really going to affect admissions, but they are potentially going to affect the the ability of a student to do well or not, certainly in the early months of their time when they do transfer to the United Kingdom. Students who've taken the lack of examinations as a rallying call to stand up and try to demonstrate the differentiation of excellence and to inject some personal rigor into their academic studies to show that they're ready for schooling in the United Kingdom, I think will fare very well and will fit very well into the system. Those students that have said, school's finished, exams are done, they're going to give me a grade anyway, I'm going to have a holiday. I think actually when it comes to joining schools in the United Kingdom come September, they're going to face a sharp awakening. So my treaty to students and to parents here is really, let's prepare in the best way possible to go on to our future schools, whether our schools are closed or not. If there's no curriculum coming online from your current school, fine. Not everybody's in the luxury of having schools that deliver that. But you can go online and find syllabuses and course materials for your future courses. You can get in touch with your schools. I'm pretty certain every school here that's online, if students and parents were to connect with them, they would tell you how best to prepare for your transition into British education. So I think students and parents need to grasp this in order to give themselves the best opportunity for success in the future, and not treat it as a holiday, as time off, because actually the schools are closed.
Can I just come in briefly there? Another point to reassure parents on this matter is that as international schools, we have students from many countries where there are no alternatives to GCSE or O-level or WIAC. That, students in China very often have not taken any exams, Vietnam, Hong Kong, many other places. So universities are well used to dealing with this, and I think they will particularly show understanding during this time of crisis that 2020 is the COVID year, and they will find ways to assess students. So I really would like to reassure parents on that point.
Okay, so we've just received a question. Sorry.
No, go on.
Okay, we've just received a question. I'll just read it out. It says, if we don't like the IGCSE grades from mock results used by CIE to grade us, can we retake in November whilst carrying on with our A-level program? If any
Can I have that one, Anne-Marie?
Yes,
I love this question. So I face this quite a lot, because students are worried about missing out on a set of grades that they've been preparing for. I apologize if I'm at odds with advice that may come from my colleagues here, but I am very much someone that says if you have transferred yourself into an A-level system and you haven't done your IGCSEs, I think you are best served focusing on your A-levels than trying to run two systems at the same time. You will have been given a grade not by CIE, but you will have been given a grade by the centre which you attended, the school that you've attended, and the data that they've used to assess that grade is all of the work and input you've done over the last 2 years, and should be a fair reflection of you as an individual. It's then standardized by CIE according to set formula and algorithms that they've put in place. You could seek to discuss with the CIE that process. However, when you come to the United Kingdom for your A-levels, it is such a busy time. The uplift required from IGCSE into A-level is considerable, particularly in subjects like mathematics, and you do need the time to focus. If you're trying to run two systems at the same time, then I think it is folly, and I think that you're missing the point of why you are where you are. When you come to the United Kingdom to study for your A-levels, people forget that actually, yes, you may be doing 3 or 4 A-levels, and you can do those for 2 years, and those are going to provide you with grades which are the key to the door to go into university. But there is so so much more that you have to learn whilst you're at school than simply 3 or 4 A-level subjects. In order to produce yourself as and I'm going to talk in purely commercial terms here, I apologize for educators, you have to produce yourself both a written and a verbal sales pitch ready for your personal statement and your interview at university. You can't just talk about maths, biology, chemistry and physics in that personal statement and in that interview. You have to have so much more to add to yourself, and this could be coming from your extra or supercurricular activities, your volunteering, your work experience, all these things that you do to add value to yourself, your creativity, your critical thinking, your communication skills. All of these things are crucially important. But if in your first term that you're with us, you are actually focusing yourself very heavily on the IGCSE system which you've left, you don't have time to add that value to yourself. You pile the pressure up and push it further down the line until when you're coming to fill in your UCAS application in your summer holiday and submit for some people, which may be on the 15th of October in your second year with us, you actually you've run out of time. You don't have time to add value to yourself. And I would absolutely say what will be, will be. If you are a visa holding student coming from Nigeria, you will have an unconditional offer to study in our schools, whether or not you get your GCSE or IGCSE grades or not. Take that as a fantastic sign of acceptance of your quality. Throw yourself into your education in your new school and give it the best shot you've got. Don't look backwards, look forwards.
Thank you so much. Oh, please go on, Tom. Yes, please.
Building on my previous point, because we have so many students with no equivalent of GCSE, I don't know about the other schools here, but we continue to ask our students to sit AS levels. And in that situation, I'd much rather the student focuses on the AS level at the end of the first year, in line with what Gareth has just been saying, rather than to look back and try and recover the GCSEs. Gareth is totally right here that to try and do that while studying A levels and AS levels would be a bad move, I think. So look forward to the AS levels that you can use then to show the universities your quality.
Can I just add, Anne-Marie, as well, just to back up what colleagues are saying there, that it's also antithetical and counterintuitive in terms of the UK education system, because the UK education system essentially goes from a broad base towards narrowing down on an area of excellence which you can take to degree level. So I mean, for me, speaking from my own personal experience, I wouldn't have stayed at school after I was 16 if I had to do maths and physics and because I was hopeless at them. But I was quite good at history. So I think to move on towards an area of excellence, which you could ultimately take towards a degree level and maybe a postgraduate level, is I mean, what a shame it would be if you didn't do yourself justice in your A levels because you were trying to resit things which you didn't enjoy doing anyway.
Thank you very much, Tom, Gareth, and Giles, for answering that question. So I'd just like to ask our participants if you have any more questions that you would like addressed. Please speak up.
One thing I would like to know, Anne-Marie, is
Yes.
in terms of how is the situation impacted, do you feel, in terms of the local context, and how is the mood of people in terms of studying abroad and taking these opportunities that we've all spoken about?
So I mean, I think it's a bit of a mix. We have some families, you know, who believe all this is going to die down and, you know, face-to-face classes are going to resume in September as normal. We have some families who don't want to make a decision yet because, you know, they want to keep watching things to see how, you know, everything is going to turn out. And we have families who are hopeful, you know, and who just required clarification as to okay, come September, fingers crossed, students will be able to go back to school. How are children going to be protected? What social distancing measures will be put in place, etc. So it's a mix, to be honest. I don't know if Mrs. Omonobi wanted to add to that.
No, you've answered it. We have, surprisingly, we have many inquirers this session, even in the pandemic, even though they are not making up, like Anne-Marie said, some of them are waiting, but they are still going ahead applying. So we think there's some kind of hope when the restriction is submitted, because some of them are worried that some of the questions they were asking, you've answered it today. So I think some of them may be making some decisions. But there's one last question that somebody sent here. Says that I also asked that question. So I just want you to answer her, because I've been asked that question many times, and I think Garrett somehow answered that question. Medicine has gone beyond getting 4 A's at A levels. So they just want to know what the schools, the support that you give to student pupils that come to your school and they want to study medicine. What kind of support do you give to them? I got some from what Garrett said, and maybe somebody can tell us the support that your school gives to such.
I'll start off, and I'm going to pass the baton to Tom. Tom certainly showed on his first slide an affinity to medicine, so I'll start off and pass it on. Medicine is probably one of the hardest degrees to get into in university. It demands not only the highest of entrance grades for A levels, but also the highest level of character skills that you probably need for any course. You're not simply dealing with a subject, you're dealing with people. If students don't have the crucial skills of communication and empathy, it doesn't matter how many A stars they've got in their A levels, they're actually going to not make very good doctors. And therefore, the real emphasis on educating students for medicine is not on their academic subjects. I speak to all of my prospective healthcare students, be they medics, dentists, vets, pharmacists, whatever it may be. When they come to me, I say, look, we're actually not going to focus on the type of education you're expecting. We're going to focus on your super curriculum. We're going to look at the things that are going to add value to you in your application to university and add value to you in your future career. I expect you to attain the highest grades possible, because if you're not a student that is capable of attaining the highest grades possible, well, quite frankly, you're not going to gain the key to the medicine door at university anyway, no matter what we do. So I expect you to be working at the highest levels. I expect you to be delivering the highest grades possible, and we will work on providing you with all of those things that will allow you to build your character outside of those subjects. One of the things that many of my students come to me saying is, Mr. Collier, I need to get some work experience I must go to a hospital. Well, it's lovely if you can go to a hospital and get work experience as an oncologist, lovely. If you can do that, let me know and I'll send my students there too. But actually, one of the most valuable and useful things that we have as work experience for our students is to work with different types of people from different backgrounds, different sectors, different age groups. We like them to go and work in an old people's home where they're exposed to dementia, they're exposed to a different way of communicating, a different set of attitudes. Well, in a nursery school where you've got a 3-second time span and lesson span where children want you all the time in different ways, and you've got to learn to listen and communicate with them well. Now, I understand that there will be pressure on that in times of COVID-19, and we shall think about that differently and we'll come up with an alternative plan. But actually discovering how to communicate, discovering empathy, and how to read and understand signals and signs that are perhaps not given are three fantastic skills for medics. Quite often we talk about communication for medicine and we think it's all about talking to people. Actually, 80% of a GP's time is spent listening. So being able to understand and hear people and interpret what they're saying is crucially important. So Rose, you're absolutely right. Medicine requires the highest grade of academic student, and quite frankly, there's no point in putting yourself forward for medicine if you're not prepared to be excellent and work at being excellent, and then we will help you to add the value to your application, make you a doctor, a great doctor, or a fantastic doctor. Tom, I'm going to pass to you because I'm certain you've got plans in your medic program there, and you're going to talk on that.
It's something we put an awful lot of time and resources into trying to improve it, because it is such a high demand area, and I'm sure all of the panelists will agree it's a frighteningly competitive area, and it becomes more competitive every year. So we have a fully developed program of regular meetings of a medic society. We have a medical conference where speakers come from universities all over the UK to speak to our students, to give them practice with interviews, with simulations of various medical situations, all sorts of interview practice. And another thing which I'm sure a number of schools do as we do is at the end of our first year, we actually produce what we call a futures report, where every student's university aspiration is looked at, and we give an honest assessment as to whether they're going to make it or not. Because I'm sure that all of us educators have the experience of students arriving on our doorstep saying, I want to be a doctor, and it becomes quite clear quite soon that it really isn't a suitable profession for them. So we think it's part of our duty sometimes to actually give the bad news that actually this isn't suitable for you, but there are lots of other medical careers you could be thinking of which are not being a doctor. So it is very competitive. It's something you need to think about very carefully, because medicine, after all, is a vocation. You've got to be suited to it in your character as much as in your academic ability, as Gareth has just said. But good luck with whoever asked that question.
Thank you so much, Tom and Gareth.
I suspect the same. I think the same would be said for Giles there. I'm pretty certain he's had a lot of Premier League footballers sat in front of him on the football academy in Brooke House, and he's probably had to deliver a similar sort of message to those sort of students at the end of the first year.
Well, yeah, and it's I think that the message that comes through from everybody, and it's something for all the parents to bear in mind, is at the minute, let's be honest, we're in uncertain times. We're part of private education in the UK. We exist, as do universities, on international students coming to the UK. For some of it's our core business. For some of it's part of their business. And, there's a friend of mine who always says to me, if you want to review a restaurant and have a good experience, go on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night, because they're not very busy. Don't go on a Saturday night, because they'll be rushed off their feet. And I think there is not a better time to come to the UK as an international student currently, because the sector as a whole is acutely aware of the need to look after the international students, both at secondary level and at tertiary level. And I think that the students who come to the UK, they'll get the advantage of even more care than they would have done otherwise, because people's sensitivities have been heightened as a result of the tragic pandemic. And also they're going to face a situation where universities have got challenges, and I can see how they're going to be active in taking care of the international students and fostering international links as well. So I do genuinely believe that the experience that people will have will be second to none. And as Gareth was saying earlier, we've learned quite a lot over the last 3 or 4 months about delivery, curriculum development, about how to make our product better, how to make it more accessible. So there's been lessons learned undoubtedly at all levels as a result of the recent times. And the international students who come to the UK, I think in September, I think that they will be exceptionally well looked after, because because they provide the lifeblood of a lot of institutions. And that's putting just a commercial slant on it in one context. But on the other side of the coin, I think they can rely upon an extra special level of care. Not that that wasn't there anyway, but you know, and the same that Gareth mentioned football. That, you know, of course we're looking at how we can get the footballers back in training. You know, we had 3 Nigerian players at the World Cup under-20s last year who were representing the Flying Eagles. One of them's now signed a pro deal at Leganes in Spain. We've got a Nigerian boy who plays for Galatasaray, who used to study at the school. And in the same way as every care is being taken across the whole curriculum, not just boarding, but the delivery of catering, the delivery of maintenance, housekeeping, you know, and I think I speak for everybody when I can just say that, you know, we've had 3 or 4 months of, don't know about the other guys who are here, but I haven't had any holiday, put it that way. The furlough hasn't really, that seems to pass me by. It's probably been the busiest time in my recent memory, because we've been preparing for this moment and to make sure that we get it right.
Thank you very much, Giles.
Can I ask a question about the flight situation in Nigeria? When are travel restrictions likely to be lifted?
Okay, so I mean, we're not too sure, to be honest. I think there's a rumor going around that it might be sometime in July. So there's a travel ban on both domestic and international flights. So the ban on domestic flights will be lifted on the 21st of June. And I'm not sure, they haven't really made an announcement with respect to that of international flights. So we don't know at the moment. Yes.
I like that answer, Anne-Marie, because Tom put you in the position that we're in as well, because everybody asks us for certainty on things during COVID-19 with regard to education. And we have to say, well, we're not sure at the moment, but we're doing this and we're doing that, and it might happen again. So there you go. I'm glad you're sat in the educator's seat there for a second there. And I think parents are also super understanding that nobody has all of the answers at the moment, but that we're all trying to work hard to the best of our ability to give the best possible solutions and answers to students as they come in.
Yes.
Can I add a point? I'm talking too much, and do stop me as and when you want. I'm happy for you to be rude to me. I just wanted to add to what Giles was saying there. I was having a conversation with the Vice Chancellor of a Russell Group University a couple of days ago, and he was at pains to point out that there has never been a better time to go to university. Never been a better time. You know, if you can go, if you can get yourself into the system right now, do it, because actually deferring and putting off the inevitable is going to make it harder for you to get in, as all of these deferred students, they're not going to give up on their hopes and dreams of going to university. They're going to come back to it later, and the competition for places is going to increase. It's going to get tougher. So if you have to defer for whatever reason, then fine. But if you don't have to defer, and it's a choice, I would make the choice to stay in the system and get into school and get into university now, because the competition for places is going to get incredibly tough in the future, particularly, as Tom said, for those high demand vocational courses like medicine.
Thank you so much, Gareth. That was a fantastic response. Okay, so I just wanted to ask again, if we have any questions for the panelists to answer. This would really be a great time to speak up. Okay, so we don't have any questions in the chat box. So I'm going to pass on to the Executive Director to give her vote of thanks.
Marie, I just wanted to let you know, I just got an email flashed up on my screen from our Director of Admissions. And I think, coming back to a question that was asked earlier, that the visa, that they've just, the UKVI have just released a new list of the scheduled reopening various offices. I haven't actually had the chance to see which offices they were talking about, but as I said, it is part of an ongoing process, and I don't think that the immigration issues will prevent genuine students from joining us in September.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that, Giles.
Check it online and you'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep our eye out for that. Thank you.
Well, what a great. I have learned a lot today. I just thank God for this session, and I must say a big thank you to our esteemed partners. Like I said in the first, what I said when we started this, that the boarding school principals, directors, all that are here today, it's not easy to pull you out. But you have spent 1.5 hours trying to talk to our parents. We appreciate it. We know you have spent valuable time. You have contributed so much, and you have answered many questions that has been bothering our parents. We are very happy. We also thank our parents that made time to connect to this. And we want to say to you that we are always here to help you. We can arrange virtual meetings with our partners if you want one-on-one with them. So we can arrange the virtual meetings, and the video or the recording of this event is going to be shared. So so that you are aware, you know exactly what decisions to take. I learned something from Garrett today, and which I have been preaching to parents, and that is there are no bad schools, but there could be bad choice. And that's a very, very good message for Nigerian parents, because I have been talking to them. If you're looking at a school, you have to also look at your child. You have to know a school that is best fit for your child. If you take an average child and you put this average child in a highly academic pressured environment, you have lost this child. And I keep saying it, you have to look at your child and know where he can fit best. You know, because we have a problem, people come to you, they want number 1 on the league table, number 10 on the league table, but your child doesn't fit into that. So that is something that I took today. There's no better way to put it than Garrett put it. There are no bad schools, I wrote it down, but there could be bad choice. so I like that. I say thank you also to bankers, FCMB. They have done so well for us. They put up the campaign for these discussions. We have several sessions going on throughout the week, and already we have 800 registrations. We don't, not for this session, but you know, for all the sessions. But it's all 60% of the marketing is from FCMB, and then our mail chief. So we say thank you to FCMB. I will not forget to thank my able placement manager, Marie, with her team. They have done very well. They've worked tirelessly to put this together. So I also say thank you, and thank you to our IT guru, Tokumbo. I say thank you to everybody that have contributed to this. I have learned a lot today, and I know that parents will now start to make their choices. You now know that UK is a safe place to go. So you have heard from the horse's mouth. It's not just what Rose is telling you, but you've heard from those that are responsible. It's good that we, the stakeholders, we have benefited immensely from this, and then we should move with what we have got. And we are looking forward to, we look forward to getting applications now. If you haven't started, if you have started, we look forward to getting your deposits now. so thank you very much for everybody, and have a blessed day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thanks,
Tom.
guys. Take care,
Bye,
everyone.
Claire. Bye, Giles. Bye,
Bye.
Jackie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Jackie.
Thank you. Bye.